Every second, someone dies in the world. Every 2 seconds, 10 children are born somewhere.
If you saw this graph of the human population over the centuries, you might be thinking we're heading for disaster. A world with overpopulation, food shortages, and increasing global conflict over increasingly scarce resources. We've gotten so good at maintaining human populations between modern medicine, modern farming, and water and waste management. Let's start with how we got here. In the year 400, the world population was around 242 million. It would take another 1,100 years to double the population in the year 1500 to 503 million. It would double again to 1 billion in 1805, just 300 years later. In 1927, it would double again to 2 billion in just 122 years. In just 49 years after that, it would double again to 4 billion in 1976. The next doubling just happened in 2022 when we reached a population of 8 billion. We're still growing, but not exponentially anymore. The population is growing more slowly every day. That means that contrary to what most people think, we won't grow indefinitely. The world population will reach a maximum plateau and then begin to drop, and it'll drop really quickly. 23 countries, including China, Spain, Italy, Japan, and even Russia, will likely see their populations halve. Japan's projected drop almost 60%. The population and explosion would be met by a shortage of resources, later leading to war, famine, and finally collapse by the year 2040, caused also by resource depletion, pollution, and social collapse. China imposed a one-child policy dubbed Late, Long, and Few, which cut population growth in half between 1970 and 1976. However, the following decade saw strong exponential growth and steered away from those projections, which is why most people always seem to worry about there being too many people on Earth rather than too few. In fact, in 2021, the United Nations forecast was that the population would increase to 11 billion by the end of this century. This is why I was really surprised to find out that we're headed in the totally opposite direction. A recent study commissioned by the organization the Club of Rome predicts that if current trends continue, the world's population, which is currently 7.96 billion, will peak at 8.6 billion in the middle of the century before declining by nearly 2 billion before the century's end. Another study by the University of Washington published in The Lancet predicts it'll rise to 9.7 billion by 2064, then fall off to 8.8 billion by 2100. While it could drop all the way to 6.3 billion if the UN Sustainable Development Goals are met. That's a drop of 3.4 billion people in just 34 years, while it took us 42 years to grow from 4.56 billion to 7.96 billion that we're at today. This means the projected drop is faster than the growth we've had for all these years. That we're living in the time when there are the most human beings on this planet that there ever will be, ever.